Good afternoon, board members, Mr. Santos, Ms. Rendon, district staff here present, and extended UISD family. Time is now 12:02 p.m. on this, the 26th day of January 2021, and I call this emergency meeting of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. If I can have the board members present and online recite your full names for the record.
Juan Roberto Ramírez.
Alisa Oliveros.
Background.
Mr. Molina, can you hear us?
Molina.
Molina present, myself, Ramiro Valdez. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Agenda item 2, we'll go to pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Liberty and justice for all. Honor the
Flag. I pledge allegiance to thee.
one state under God, one indivisible.
Again, everybody remain standing at this 40 moment of silence for our.
Yes.
Mr.
Yeah, Mr. Valley, members of the board and the audience, really on behalf of board trustees and United family, staff, condolences to Mr. Juan Antonio Molina, and also to all the other employees, parents, community members that have passed. Our condolences on behalf of the United family. Amen.
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 Agenda item 3, any public comments?
None, sir, but I would like to present this in public before you all go into executive session.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Good afternoon, members of the board, members of the audience, and members of the public out in our community. Wanted to share this information as to the emergency meeting with regards.
Siempre al principio, desde el principio, es lo que they hear about Bobby.
Ramirez, can you mute your phone, please?
As to a discussion with regards to a school closure, all right, or a change of shift to a remote learning environment for our students. And so what we know now is the Laredo community leads the country in the number of positive COVID cases on a per capita basis, and that was shared with us on Friday of last week. The last 2 weeks, Laredo has seen a total of 8,904 cases, COVID-related positive cases. As per our local health authority, our capacity at the hospital is critical. The governor has prioritized resources to our community. He did send out that also on over the weekend: medical staff, equipment, medicine, PPE, testing supplies, and vaccines. We do know that some campuses have had difficulty securing staff to teach or monitor our students. And so in some cases, we've had to pull in substitute teachers to cover those particular classrooms, because when you have a teacher who has been positive and then the teacher aides are exposed, so it has been difficult to safely monitor those particular students in those classes. To date, we have 2,622 students who are receiving on-campus instruction, and you see the breakdown there. Elementary, we have 2,100 students, middle school 323, and high school 122 students. And to date, we have had 11 employees who have passed away due to COVID-19, and 5 employees who have lost a spouse or immediate family member to COVID-19. With regards to the student intake, next slide, please. These are positive exposures or exposure to positive individuals. Since August 24th, since we started our first day of school, we have had 8,696 intakes. But what I want to see is that last bullet. In the 15 days since our return from our winter break, which is January the 6th, we have had 2,342 student intakes, which is an average of 156 intakes per day. Now, these are students who may be on campus, who may be at home, participating in remote instruction, or individual students who are participating in extracurricular activities.
What's an intake? Sorry.
An intake is anybody when there is an exposure to a student who may be positive or a family member or so forth, we do an intake so that we have that data. This is the student side. Then on the employee side, next slide, please. We have had 2,460 employee intakes. And in the 15 days since our return from winter break, we have had 621 employee intakes. Again, that means that there was some exposure or they were actually positives and they exposed somebody else.
Mr. Chairman, just want to report I'm present.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo. Mr. Frank Castillo for the record president. Is there no? Go ahead.
Next slide.
Ricardo Molina for the record. Ms. Rendon, have the governor sent any more vaccines to Laredo or to United?
We are, the city, we just had a meeting with them, sir. They are looking forward to additional shipments, but we don't know when they would be arriving and how many specifically.
Thank you.
As far as preparations and dialogue that we've had since yesterday with regards to this agenda item, we met virtually with Texas Education Agency yesterday to explore options for having all students take part in remote or virtual learning from February 1st to February 15th. We also met with our sister district, Laredo ISD reps, to ensure that the two largest school systems in our community are on the same page, and options were discussed. We discussed moving asynchronous day to Monday, February 15th, and discussed that on-campus instruction would resume on Tuesday, February 16, 2021 for those students whose parents want them to return. That is a possible option for you all to consider, which would give us a 10-day system. Next slide, please. So this is our current calendar. If I start counting right now, we have 70 days left if we remove those two, the 10-day period in February from 1st through the 12th. 70 days of instructional days for our students, right?
What about your work day for those?
Your purples are your holidays, all right? So when you start looking at January we're our last week, so there's nothing there, the last week of January. When you look at February, you see February 15th, that is Green Day is a professional development day. And then in March, you would have our purple days, that is a week designated for spring break. April 1st is designated as a professional development, and April 2nd is a holiday for our staff and our teachers. And then our students would finish on the 28th of May. And our teachers would have a professional development / work day on the 31st.
Are those required work days?
Well, they are
Legally required work days, or is that something I know the board has?
we need a total, sir, of 187 days as per their contract, for teacher contract. You see June 1st there as a designated teacher work day where they were closed. So the calendar reflects 187 days of employee teacher days. That's what it reflects currently. So the option that we would propose, and of course it's open for discussion. Next slide, please. The state requires that districts who do not comply with the requirements stipulated in their correspondence only be entitled to claim half the operational minutes they would normally claim on each instruction day that they are out of compliance. And so we can elaborate a little further on that. Basically what they're saying is that for the 10 days that we would be out, and I shared with you a document with regards to the number of minutes that we would have right now and how many days that we would have to make up in order to receive the funding from the state level to make sure that we pay our bills and our employees get paid. Right, so the option that we were looking at for your consideration is to offer remote instruction February 1st to February 12th, which is 10 days. We would change February 15th, which is a Monday, to the asynchronous day instead of it being on February 12th. And then we would change the professional development day of February 15th to an actual asynchronous day of instruction. We would change the professional development day of April 1st to an actual instructional day so our students would not lose out. And then we will continue working with TA to comply with the requirements so that we can maximize our state funding, and meet, the letter of the law with the minutes required by the state, which is 75,600 minutes. And so then your calendar would look like this, if you would, adopt those changes. You look at February, the 12th was designated previously 2 weeks ago as an asynchronous day. We would move that day to the 15th. We would have remote instruction from the 1st to the 12th, which is now your blue day. So our students will go home. Our 2,100 students will remain at home. Our teachers will teach from home. And then February 15th would be the asynchronous day. So our teachers can still remain at home that particular day and upload their lessons. Then our students would come back. Those who want to choose to come back and return to school on campus setting would return on February 16th. There is no change in March. April, we do lose that professional development day. And we would, our asynchronous days were already designated as the 23rd of April and May 21st. And so that is basically the only changes that we would have with regards to the proposal that we would like.
I have a question, Ms. Rendon.
Yes, sir.
Address the makeup days for the TA would require to go fully remote.
Based on the sheet that I provided for you, and I can share that in further detail during the executive session if you would like. But they are required because our calendar, the way it currently sits at is we only have 2 extra days at the elementary level, 6 extra days at the middle school level. But if I go remote instruction for 10 days, I owe 8 days, and they're saying you can get half of that. So I owe 4 days at the elementary level, and at the middle and the high school level, 2 days. But I have already taken care of my 2 days when I lose the professional development days, and I convert those into instructional days. So in essence, I only have to make up 2 additional days at the elementary level, 4 minutes.
So that would be, so it wouldn't interfere, this proposal that you're saying would not interfere with our graduation, tuition, starting of.
College summer courses or anything else.
Did it only affect your elementary school?
It affects everybody in the sense that the teachers would, instead of having professional development days, they would have to have instruction with those students on the 15th and the 1st, February 15th and April 1st. That's one change. So our students would come back to school and have instruction. They would not be off on that day. And then continue working with the agency on those additional days.
We still want to finish the last day that we have on the calendar. This allows our current seniors to be able to start college in June. And the same thing for our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors that go to LC. Got close to about 2,000 students that take classes. So we need to make sure that give these students the opportunity.
Right.
And obviously it's a help to students and to the parents. So I think we can work around all these schedules to be able to accommodate as best we can.
While we're at it, can we address the option of look like if it was a complete operational second?
If we choose to go complete operational shutdown, the state basically says that we have to make up those days this year. So we would either do spring break, which is 5 days, and it's a day per day, right, at that point. If you're not offering anything else, so I have to make up 10 days in this calendar year, or I could do spring break and add a week to June, right? Actually till June 7th, because I cannot have school on May 31st because it's a state holiday. And, or have all of the first 2 weeks of June, which then would interfere with, of course, graduation. And would interfere with the summer programs at Laredo College and TAMU because their calendars are already set.
So your proposal is to shut down the whole district for 2 weeks or?
Not shut down, sir. Just provide remote instruction for our students from February 1st to February 12th as the option, the instructional model for those 10 days. So it's not a shutdown. And then of course we would have a modified work schedule for our employees.
And that modified work schedule includes staff, auxiliary staff, support staff as well. Am I correct?
Yes, Mr. Castillo, we would assure, obviously the board has to approve a resolution that we have here to be able to accommodate all those employees and still continue to allow them to earn the 40 hours or whatever number of hours that they're employed. And we're looking at possibly doing a shift, meaning, people will be on call, but be able to reduce the number of employees at the campuses and at the departments. The whole purpose is to be able to bring down the numbers in all the areas where you have less employees, that would be susceptible to gathering and obviously get this infection.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure on the terminology once again that we're using. Shutdown, closure, might mean different things to different people. That's why I want to be correct.
So I think from my perspective, I'm not talking for the rest of the board members. I know Amigo and Avisa joined in on this discussion, and I'm glad we're having it. Really, probably one of the only, if not the only ISD, well, aside from Laredo ISD, that is experiencing increasing numbers in our community, in our campuses, in our district. If we move it for February the 1st, that's really not recognizing the emergency. Why don't we just shut it all down right now and everybody go home? That's probably the only way that this pandemic is going to clear our communities. Everybody can stay home.
The only reason is, we've got over 2,600 students on campus that we need to make sure we allow the parents the opportunity to make arrangements. That's the only reason why we looked at and moving it to Monday. It was difficult for parents that work, don't have childcare, and all of a sudden, tomorrow you say your child is now home. So we want to give the parents an opportunity. And I know it's 3 days, and 3 days obviously are extremely important that it increase the infection. But I think it allows parents this opportunity to say, all right, Monday I've got to make arrangements with my child. You've got some self-contained special needs students and just regular students. You've got those pre-kinder, kinder. That's the only reason why we moved it to Monday. Give us an opportunity to get those parents.
And so I guess depending on what the board discusses and agrees to, even a 1 week complete shutdown could be an option as well on the table. We just have to look at making up those days. I don't know. I mean, we had 8 deaths yesterday alone. Our community is apparently at the city council. I may have heard, but somebody indicated that almost half of our community could be infected as well. There's no more ventilators. They're opening up tents everywhere. And the remote instruction that we already have, I think 95% of our students are pretty much already on remote.
Yes.
Right.
So the teachers sending 2,100 students home, really not a huge amount of.
It's just you would also send half of your teachers home.
And so wouldn't in essence the teachers working remotely, wouldn't the teachers also who are already working remotely be working a little extra more days than
Yes, you're correct. Yeah, but the other item is where we have close to about 4,000 employees. They're also coming almost every day. So this would allow us also to split and be able to send also those employees home and work a split shift. I mean, that's also part of the.
CNI has their people there full time.
I mean, you've got over 220 bus drivers as an example. You've got all these people at the campuses that we would do a shift. That's, again, I go back, I mean, we'll do whatever the board feels that we need to do to take care of our employees and our students.
If we go full remote for 2 weeks, what would be a campus, what employees will we have at a campus, if any?
Yeah, but basically what we would end up doing as an example, we would do like 2 shifts where one shift works the whole week, half of the staff. The other half is home, ready to do some remote or to help. Then following week we flip-flop. This allows us to bring down the numbers. Same thing with our drivers, same thing with our custodians.
Are you referring to staff, are you referring to just teachers, or maybe?
No, I'm talking about all staff. I'm talking about, I think this was a question that Mr. Castillo was asking.
Right.
This is for all employees. This could be your, as an example, your campus principals, all the way through your custodians. Where half works 1 week, the other half, the other employees come work half a week.
is there a possibility we can do complete shutdown on the campus level and still offer remote instruction? Is that something that's feasible?
The only issue, and I guess I would need to talk to Mr. Perez on technology. If there are some issues, if something goes down, I mean, we obviously, if we shut down, we shut everybody down, right? But that's the only thing that we probably have to work out.
Can you tell me really quick, sir, the meals program?
Yes,
The
yes.
athletic program?
All right, on the meals, what we want to do, and we talked to Ms. Benavides, and she's talking to food services, we want to do the same thing, run it in shifts, still be able to provide the grab and go at the sites. On athletics, my recommendation is we continue. I think the athletic trainers and the coaches have done a really good job in testing our students. We test them almost weekly, and they've been able to work with on their district games as an example. If they need to postpone a game and push it in another week, it's worked out good. We're at the tail end of the season, and we'd like to continue, allowing our students to participate. That's our thought there in that area.
And the buses continue as well. So,
Yeah, we'll see it.
good.
Yeah.
So there are certain people who would have to continue working, our cafeteria personnel, some of our buses who operate those Wi-Fi buses. And of course,
Administration.
Yeah, and we rotate. I mean, I don't think we need the whole crew there, but this allows, as an example, you've got several directors could be home, doing virtual or available, when we need them, and then next week you flip flop. And the whole idea is to keep the numbers down as best as we can in all departments, in all campuses. Yes, sir.
So Molina?
Yes, I have a question. How about if they would take like the 16th to the end of the month, take the whole month and make up at the end of the year? Because right now it's when the pandemic is booming right now, and
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why we wouldn't recommend that, Mr. Molina, is we've got, as an example, we've got over 3,000 seniors that will graduate in May. And a good number start summer school right away, start their first session in June. Then we have about almost 2,300, 2,400 students that are currently freshmen, sophomores, and juniors that also start going to college. And this is obviously a big support to the parents where, tuition is free to the students. That's one of the items that we'd be looking at. Now, I know we've got that week of spring break in there, that we can flip flop and trade. We looked at all areas and we don't know what a week from now is going to be, or 2 weeks from now, whether it gets even more. So,
Well, in my view, what we're having to deal with is a critical situation with the pandemic. To me, I think we're going to have to take some action because no one is immune right now to anything. And all these options like 2 weeks or a month, I'm very much in favor. And secondly, yes, I do want to be inclusive of all employees. And I like the idea of modified work schedules where you have different shifts. I think that's a good way to go because that works with other offices.
You got counselors and paraprofessionals right now that aren't working in shifts. They're going every day to the campuses.
we go in shifts. We do shifts for all our employees.
Y'all spoke to TEA. What, if anything, do they recognize as Laredo it's all over the news. I'm not sure what it is that they can't digest, in their brains, but what is it that they don't recognize us as a critical area?
The only thing I can say, Mr. McClellan, again, I can't speak for TA, but I think it follows what the directive of what the governor is telling TA and telling the cities.
And I think
and ours, we're trying to do as best as we can to deviate and still meet the needs of our students and the community.
We had TSTA at the LISD building, talking about having their teachers work in shifts and things like that. And that's where they need to be over there is trying to convince the governor that, hey, this is critical. Now, they didn't indicate anything about a waiver. They didn't say, hey, yes, we will consider it.
They really, to be quite honest, I think their response is that they probably would not accept any waivers.
That's ridiculous. I don't see
it. I concur with you. I agree with you, but.
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Elisa.
Yes, well, I agree with the makeup of time, and I agree that we're doing something about this. But in the beginning of the pandemic, when we initially reacted to our situation, I believe everybody, with an exception of a few, maybe Mr. Santos Gloria and a few other administrators, I believe everybody stayed home for a while and worked virtually. I feel like we're even in an even more precarious situation today than we were back then because our numbers, the proof is in the pudding. Look at our numbers. So why could we not continue virtual instruction and just close down the district physically, but remain completely open virtually? Is that not possible?
Okay, yeah, cool.
From what I understand, back then, it's the governor is the one who ordered the feds and the governor are the ones who ordered that particular shutdown. So at that point, there was, the funding was available to us. At this point, there's certain criteria that has to be met in order for us to get fully funded. So it's not necessarily the same, outcome that we would have if we were to shut down completely.
And I agree with you in regards to instruction, but I don't think that applies to who's in an office, if I'm correct.
You're correct on that. That's our call to make. Right, Madam.
But well, I think it's probably looking at the option of doing remote and trying to have the minimal amount of.
Absolutely. That would be our intent for at least for the next 2 weeks, to be able to, if we do remote, then we modify the schedule to try to get as few employees in the site, try to get them home and be available.
I do want to state that TA, were very cordial. They took our call immediately. They did offer options, some of course that we don't want to hear, but there are certain options that were placed on the table, and they were willing to work with us. We did not move on the spring break option because we don't know what's coming. And today you heard that there's another variant already from Brazil. And so we kind of want to leave those days, of course, if you all agree to that. But that was our, I guess, in case we need those particular 5 days, that we will use those 5 days at another time in case we have to shut down.
Ms. Rendon, I want to elaborate a little bit on what Alisa did say. I know that you said that the state, that there was revenues coming back, but did we get all the revenues back from the COVID deal to the district? I had heard that we didn't get fully funded.
Well, okay, okay. If we're talking about school funding, when the governor shut us down, the answer there is yes. Where I think right now, we're working to try to see, we submitted all the expenses that we had because of COVID. And my understanding is state and federal probably will reimburse us maybe 70-80% of what we requested. So we're working on that. The other item that didn't happen, so you're correct. The federal government initially was going to give us or the districts a certain amount of money, a large amount of money to be able for us to utilize for the pandemic and all these other expenses. What happens, TA removed those funds. They kept it in the agency, and then all they did is use those federal funds to replace state funds, so we didn't get a single amount. I think we only got about 100,000 more. So TA controlled all that, and I know we expressed that interest and that concern to Henry,
But it's interesting.
Henry Graham.
TA, what I understand, TA has been working from home remotely.
Absolutely.
Since March.
Well, since last year, yes.
And so I'm sure this phone call was remote.
Yes, it was. Yes, it
I
was.
don't think they really care too much about our teachers and our staff, to be honest with you, I think.
And I'll tell you what, Javier, and I'm sorry to say that, but we're talking about, it was a large amounts of money. I know that we were supposed to be getting about $15 million, and we only got about $800,000. They really.
It was even less than that, but you're right. We should have gotten a large amount of money to help us take care of those needs, but.
I personally understand the need. Our kids are they're suffering an educational loss here, especially, our Hispanic community. We don't have a lot of access to some of the remote learning, in some areas of our community. Math and reading are probably going to be affected the most. We're going to be behind. And, it's just, this pandemic is not a good situation. The city's gone down to what, 25%. County went down yesterday to 50%, employee, at their building. I think we need to do the same thing. But personally, I would propose a full shutdown for at least a week. And, you know, then come back and start.
Would the board consider us looking at maybe making up those days in spring break? That's a possibility?
If it's shutting down,
It was shut
completely
down.
would be making up day per day.
Yes. Yeah.
We're gonna make up days either way. It's either half the time or full time. And it's just, I just don't, I don't trust where the community's at right now with the numbers that we have. I think we're exposing our employees and our staff and our students.
We'll make it work. Whatever direction the board gives us, we'll make it work.
Mr. Santos?
Sure.
Question regarding, I know earlier there was a discussion about the budget and how much money we're supposed to get and didn't get. Do you have numbers or what to look at for if we shut down or closure rather? The 15 days versus a 30-day period. Do you have a comparison on that?
Probably our expenses, Mr. Castillo, per day is the auditors just shared that with board. It's about $1 million a day. Those are our expenses. That includes obviously our salaries and all the other things that come around, electricity and so on and so forth. And from the state, we end up getting about 60% of our salary or our budget. So, it'll be a couple of million, that we're going to be short.
Can we survive without the state's funding? I guess.
We can survive probably, I think we have a cushion of about maybe 20 days out of our fund balance, but our fund balance, just like our savings, it's here. We would have to hear our fund balance on that amount. If that's the case, that we go to shut it down and we don't get any funding or we can't find a solution to be able to try to.
That'll be a situation that arises if we don't decide to make up the days.
That's correct.
Funding, right?
That is correct.
Go that route. If we make up the days.
If we make up the days, then we're going to be okay, right, financially.
Okay. All right, so.
Ram, just to let you all know that after this, when we come out of spring break, that numbers are going to probably pick up a lot more, and so we have to be prepared for after that also.
Mr. Santos.
It's gonna go up, sir. It should probably go up now from the holidays.
Somebody's calling. Yes?
Mr. Santos, I think if we take the governor's Austin is not number one in the nation on COVID cases. That's why he's not that worried. But we are worried because of our people here. Like they say, nationwide we're number one, and we're talking money. How about lives of the kids, the employees, and all these people that we represent? That's another top topic that lives. If we take to the end of the month and we don't take spring break, I think it'll be a benefit to United, because spring break they're gonna go all over the state, and they're gonna bring back more COVID cases than we have already.
Sure.
And I think it would be an advantage to take those spring break and give the whole month so we can get our employees vaccinated, give them the chance to get vaccinated, try to get the vaccines here that span where we can get our kids, our employees vaccinated, and look at all that stuff and give them a chance to recover from, because if they get COVID, it'll be 10 days. If we give them the whole thing, maybe we can cut down on the cases.
Sure.
Mr. Santos, Mr. Ramirez, sir, you mentioned in regard to having 20 days only on the fund. We can survive for 20 days.
We got a little more than 20, but you always want to make sure that you have enough for other emergencies. So I think we have close to 60 million in our fund balance. That's why I said we probably can use at least 20 million there. If need be, obviously, you always want to reserve the fund balance, especially that both Mr. Castillo and Molina and you're asking. We do have some funds here. That's what it is, emergencies, right?
Did we approve years back, sir, in regard to emergency rainy day? Did we put any funds or collected any funds for something, an emergency like this?
That's what our fund balance is, sir. That's our rainy day fund. You know, that's what we call it fund balance, but it's the same as the rainy day fund. That's what it's there, sir.
All right.
Okay, I have another comment. I know we're talking about money here, but if we remained, like I said, virtual, close down all the offices, everybody stays home and works from home. So we basically, like I said, we're closing, if you will, physically, continuing services virtually. We lose no money, everyone's safe, and the days that we make up are minimal. I don't understand any other discussion beyond that.
We can do that also, ma'am.
Right.
We can also do that.
I think just taking a focus on as far as minimizing that employee
Yes.
at the campus.
Yeah, the campus, we can handle that.
Right.
It's the moving everybody to virtual, at least for these 2 weeks.
Right.
Or if you want to shut a week, then if we push it down in spring break.
I recommend a 2-week period. Is that the recommendation or proposal, 2-week period?
Yes, sir, for virtual at this point, yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, so let's
Can we
move on.
go 30 days out of the rest of the month?
So we're not,
Yeah, I don't think we can.
It's up to the district, right? I think when all this stuff started, the governor said it was up to the district to do whatever was convenient to the district.
And I agree with you, Mr. Molina, but you also have to look at those graduating seniors and how it's affecting them. I think you just need the best of both worlds and take it step by step and see where the numbers lie. And right
No,
now,
and
what we have on the table are,
And I agree
Go
with
ahead.
you. I agree with you, ma'am. But the problem is, those graduates are going to be around to graduate if we don't take measures. That's what
well, if we go virtual for 2 weeks, shut down the district physically, I believe that we'll do all that we can, what's in our power. But beyond that, it's in their hands. And it's in the hands of the government to provide us the immunizations that we need. But what's in our hands right now, and what we're talking about, is the next 2 weeks virtual, closing physically, keeping our income, and keeping everyone as safe as we as a board possibly can.
they can send the governor a request to if we can take the other 10 days and would they allow it, because I come back and say the same thing. Laredo #1 in COVID cases, not Austin, not the governor's world around him. It's our world here in Laredo that's going to hell.
Right. Okay. All right, so let's move on to agenda item 4, closed session. We'll move on to closed session. Time is now 12:40, and we will adjourn into closed session pursuant to sections 551.071 of the Texas Government Code to discuss agenda item 4A. We'll be back in approximately 15 minutes.
ready?
All right, all set. Agenda item 5, reconvening from closed session. Time is now 1:05 p.m. and the board will take appropriate action on items if necessary to discuss in closed session. Agenda item 6.
Yes, on agenda item 6, the recommendation is to authorize the district administration to close all campuses and departments with the exception of essential staff and operations and offer remote learning as of Monday, February 1st, 2021 for a period of 2 weeks.
I make a motion to.
Motion, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed. Motion passes. Agenda item 7. Do we have to do
The
modification?
At this point, I don't think we need the calendar, but we may want to come back to that at a later point.
Okay, so we'll table that item.
Yes.
Well, there are some modifications other than the professional development days. So we are designating those professional development days as student instructional days.
Motion to modify. If there's a motion to modify as presented.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 None opposed, motion passes.
And we don't need anything on the waiver at this point.
Motion to
Table.
Motion to table. All right, so there's a motion to table item 8. Is there a second?
Second?
A second, any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Agenda item 9.
Jaime will review this quickly. Yes, sir, very quickly, trustees, superintendent. On the resolution, we're passing a very similar resolution to what was passed at the beginning of the pandemic, authorizing the superintendent a certain authority, for instance, premium pay to those essential staff on the motion that was just approved for those essential staff that do have to come in. And also certain authority regarding instructional calendar if needed to be taken after this point. However, the things that were modified from the previous resolution, they're no longer in this one, are regarding hiring practices and regarding procurement, certain items like that, that at the beginning of the pandemic, I believe we thought that may be needed, but at this time it really addresses personnel action. Correct. And this will guarantee payment to everybody during this 2-week school district closure, paraprofessionals and professional staff.
Need a motion to approve?
Yes.
So move.
Move. Second?
All those, or any further discussion? All those in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Renaming of Washington Middle School, and I believe Mr. Ramirez has a statement for the school board. Ramirez?
I'm sorry, sir?
This is
No,
a renaming of Washington Middle School. Do you have a statement for the school board?
Yes, sir. I am extremely thankful that my college on the board recently chose to honor me by renaming Washington Middle School after me. I am sorry for any frustration or any distress that has arisen from the proposal in the campus of Washington. Washington is the father of our country, president, and one of the greatest leaders in our world history. His name and legacy has been an integral part of our local traditions and celebrations since 1939. Most importantly, Washington Middle School has enriched the lives of many students who have gone on to become great leaders in our community and beyond. I will continue to work with the Board of Trustees and our superintendent to give students a superior public school education. And I thank my constituents for giving me the opportunity to make a positive difference in the lives of our students and their families for nearly 20 years. Thank you for that. I hope we can make it work out something for better years.
Yes, sir. All right, so
The recommendation is to rescind.
Motion to rescind the renaming of Washington Middle School.
an action item from January 18, 2021. Do we have a motion? Do we have a
So
second?
moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Agenda item 11.
At this time, any board member can make a motion if you so choose to name the new school located at Aguero property.
Ricardo Molina, I make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Juan Roberto Ramirez.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Molina, a second by Mr. Rodriguez. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to thank all the board and those involved into this. And I appreciate everything that has been taken one time at one moment to the other, and everything following all the laws. Nobody can get hurt.
Thank you for your service, Pascual.
Sorry? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Agenda item 12 will be adjournment. Time is 1:11 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move. Stay safe. Stay safe, everybody. Love you all.
Thank you.